This podcast is about entrepreneurship, spirituality, and self-care. My name is Lourdes, and I am the host of the show. Thank you for listening today. Hi, friends. Today I am speaking with Thérèse Prentice, founder of SolLuna Sanctuary and creator of the SolLuna Method. Therese is a sensual living guide, astrologer, ritualist, and master herbalist who spent more than 40 years walking on the path of the healing arts, exploring everything from aromatherapy and Reiki to herbalism, cardology, astrology, and numerology. Through her life's work, the art of sensual living, Therese helps women slow down, reconnect with their natural rhythm, and rediscover truth of who they are through what she calls the sacred pause. Hi, Therese. It's been such a long time since we last talked. I think it was back in May of 2022 when I had you on my podcast. And back then, I introduced you as the master herbalist, certified holistic health practitioner, aromatherapist, a Reiki master teacher, a metaphysician, and a merchandise designer. And back then, I also said that you were doing herbalist as a lifestyle, plant life, and how we are all connected. So that was so long ago. What have you been up to now?
Ooh, that was a long time ago. While I'm still all those things, I think that we would say that it's more refined, more defined, and definitely more on purpose. We go through life through these ebbs and flows, and I think that we're always kind of have a GPS where we're trying to locate ourselves. Where am I going in the right direction? What am I really to do? So since then, 3 years, I think that's like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I was recently a widow. I probably was about a year into my husband transitioning. And I had to define myself over the last 4 years of who am I? Now that I'm not a wife, a stepmom, all the things that I was, most of my family's deceased. My husband was the closest to me. And I've been on a journey. I went on a journey, I'll call it the dark night of the soul, to figure out exactly what and who I was. It led me to human design, which I had started back in 2017. I'm going to trail it over the pathway of Uranus and Taurus. And I say that because in the last 4 years, I became a cardologer, because I use these modalities to really help me hone in on answering the question of who am I at the core of my being? And what am I to do once I know who I am? And that's where it led me down the journey of first human design back in 2017. Then it led me in 2021, right before my husband's transition, to cardology, which is the study of the playing cards. It's a calendar, and hidden metaphysical information is hidden in the playing cards, a regular deck of playing cards. And then it led me to astrology, because human design and cardology are rooted in astrology. And when I went to astrology, I found my home. Like, I found my home in herbalism, and that was just a door cracking open. But when I stepped into the realm of astrology, everything unfolded for me. And I went from, I think I am, to, I believe I am, to, I know I am. And that's a very different place that I sit in than I've ever sat in before in my entire life. And now I know who I am. I know what I'm to do. And that kind of aligns with where we are right now, with Pluto being in Aquarius. And, there's lots of debates on this, but Aquarius is, we're in the age of Aquarius, they'll say. But I know that Aquarius stands for I know. So there's 12 houses of the zodiac, and each one represents an I am, or I. It speaks to the I. And when we look at Aquarius, Aquarius stands for I know. And so it just so happens to, we are in a state of Pluto in Aquarius. And it's so interesting that we're talking now this week because Pluto went direct. And what does that mean? Pluto was in retrograde, and retrograde always speaks of reviewing. What were the lessons you were given? And now we're going to go into retrograde, and we're going to revisit, review everything that you can add RE in front of. All the re's, rebirth, all of that. And Pluto is about rebirth. It's about death. It's about rebirth. It's about this particular time that we're in. We're going to be here for about 20 something years. And it just started November 19th.
You mean the age of Aquarius?
You could say so if you're going to align it with Pluto. Yeah,
Okay.
You could say so because it's going to be here till 2044, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not a very precise, it's going to be on this day. Even though they say it, we feel the energy before, we feel it after. It's not, energy doesn't just stop because we decided it.
Right.
So, yeah, so that's where we are. And I know. And so I'm living out that in my work, which is rooted in sensuality. And I built this new company, this new brand, and this new direction based on sensuality, love, and helping women remember who they are.
So I'm sure you have a website for that. And what is that website?
It's SolLuna Sanctuary, and it's SolLuna is SOLLUNA, which is the blending of the masculine and the feminine, Sol being the sun, Luna being the moon, and sanctuary, because I feel like every part of our life is a sanctuary, is sacred, and we need to give honor and reverence to everything that we do.
That's nice. And I'll put the website address in the show notes for our listeners. So
Okay, awesome.
So I was looking at your website. It's SolLunaSanctuary.com. And I noticed you had a few offerings, and I thought, ooh, what is life mapping? Is that what you're talking about with the Aquarius and the house and the human design blended?
It is astrology. I call it life mapping because it's a blending of astrology, numerology, and cardology.
Whoa.
Those are my sacred tools, as I call it, because they helped me develop the deepest level of self-awareness that I have ever had and I've been here 6 decades, so I'm 62. And I never knew myself on this level of awareness ever in my life. And it wasn't something that my parents could have given me. It was something that I had to discover on my own. And life mapping is what came out of it, right? It's taking your astrological chart, which is the snapshot of the sky at the time you were born, and looking at the date and time you were born, and we can decipher everything about you from that. I can look in your astrological chart and I can tell you about how you were born. Was it a good birth? I can tell you about your mother, your ancestors. I can look what you to do, what work you to do, what challenges you'll have in life. It is the most profound thing that I've ever learned. And I did not learn it because I woke up one day and said, oh, I want to be an astrologer. I came to it because I was in pain. I lost my best friend. All my family was gone. And I wanted to understand what is the meaning for my life at this point. And through my healing journey is how I got to astrology. Because cardology made me go to astrology because I wanted to understand cardology a little bit better. And what I discovered was who I was. And I discovered the map of my life. I discovered that, in life we have glimpses. This is what I found. Because I lived life before I got to the astrology, we are always speaking our charts. That's one of my mentors had said that to me, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" In the beginning,
That's
but
kind
we're
of
always,
neat,
yeah,
what you
we're always
said.
speaking our chart.
Hmm.
So if I listen to someone, I can probably tell you a little bit about them more deeper than they probably know because they're speaking their chart, and I know the charts. And so I went on this. I used astrology to heal myself and understand myself in a deep, profound way. And I know I've always been a girly girl, but I can see it in my chart.
Hmm.
I can see that I'm to be an herbalist. What I've now built with SolLuna Sanctuary is not just building a brand. It's not just building a company. It is my destiny. It is what I was called to do. It is the reason why I was born. There's no one can tell me that this isn't what I'm to do. And when you have that level of certainty, you're aligning with, all aspects of universal law. And then you also begin to understand the lineage of your family. I mean, it gets really, really deep, but life mapping is really where I sit down with someone for 3 hours. I look at their chart, time of birth, place of birth, and I really begin to unpack whatever the questions are. I can find it in their chart and the reason why they do things. I can also tell you what your biggest wound is.
Wow.
And yeah.
Wow. Ah, goodness. So where does that's a lot and that is deep.
Yes.
And wow, you've taken up a lot of time to educate and get and learn a lot of new things. And we are the same age.
You
So
know
what
that.
I all right. Yeah, what's that?
I said I didn't know that we were the same age.
Yes. And the weirdest thing is, okay, so I'm listening to you tell me all this. What I caught from that is you're able to tell me what was going on the day I was born because you look at the sky and how it was mapped. Then you
Mm-hmm.
also mentioned you use that with a combination of numerology and cardology. And from that, you can also tell, not just by my astrological chart, but who my mother was and all these other things. I mean, I find that fascinating.
Mm-hmm. I can tell you about your mother. I could tell you
Get
about,
out.
yeah,
Ooh.
because it shows up, it shows up in different patterns within your chart. And
Mm.
just so that people really understand the depth of how I got here, because it may take 4 years. Oh, that's not really that long. But for 3 years, I studied astrology, and I still study every week with a
Yeah.
mentor
Mm-hmm.
for 50 to 60 hours.
It's deep. I know it goes really deep, that astrology stuff,
Yeah.
because I started getting into that and then looking, I started getting into that. I go to a different Facebook group and this girl kind of teaches us on and off when she can,
Hmm.
but not like a real class I've taken just yet,
Hmm.
but I'm into it too. It's like, all
Yeah.
right. So then I'm looking at your website at SolLunaSanctuary.com and I see something about astrology party. I'm like, what is that about?
Well, that's exactly what I do. I do parties. We
Okay.
have our big three. So, because I love astrology and I love when I can give some insight to someone and they're like, "Oh my God, how do you know that?"
Mm-hmm.
So, at the astrology party, we talk about your big three. So everyone has their big three that typically, if I'm out in the street, I use cardology. So if I meet someone and I really want to wow them really quickly, I'll ask them, "What's your date of birth?" And for instance, we can do that with you right now. So what's your
But
let's
but girl, I'm born on the cut. Okay, so they couldn't figure out back
okay, so
then.
let me just
Um,
stop you just for 1 minute. I don't
okay,
need all that information for this part of it. We'll get
okay.
to that in a minute. So, what day you were born? Just the day, the month and day. That's all I need.
July.
Okay, July. Okay, July makes you a 10 of clubs. So remember that. You're a 10 of clubs. So, the one thing I can tell you is I knew you probably would be a card in my spread. So when we're born, we're given 13 cards, which is part of our lineup when we were born in cardology. Cardology, again, is the playing cards.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're a 10 of clubs. 10 of clubs sits in the sun. It's the master teacher, right?
Okay.
What do? You're always teaching something, from Facebook groups to having a podcast, and your podcast is educating people in the realm of metaphysics, would it not be?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
and it sits in the sun, so it doesn't surprise me that you are having a podcast. The other thing is 10. When we look at a 10, you have a 1 and a 0. It's you and the universe, right? You take and tap into the universe. If we look at cards, we can see exactly what these cards look like. It tells us exactly what it's about and the things that we're to do. So the one thing I can tell you is that if you look at a 10 of clubs, you'll see a little circle in the middle that's kind of hollow in the middle of it. So you got 5 pips at the top and 5 pips at the bottom. The key thing for you in life is to create a cocoon around yourself so that you don't do what? Double cross yourself. You have a cross at the top of 5 pips and a cross at the bottom of 5 pips. In order for you to create harmony in your life, you need to make sure that you always save some energy, space. See, space in the middle for yourself, so you don't double cross yourself.
Oh, that makes sense. That's crazy, Therese.
Yep.
Wow. And I like that you were able to pull out that information just like that and give me that interpretation. And wow, that's
cardology. So I can do that when I'm out shopping. Once I know your birthday, I can quickly figure out what your card is, and I can tell you something very quickly about you versus astrology. Astrology, in order to leave you like feeling kind of full, I would need a little bit more information. And sometimes people don't necessarily have that information.
So true.
Right? Yeah. So this is a quicker way and we have the high side and the low side of it, but you definitely are a curator of knowledge.
Wow.
Right? A master teacher, coach and mentor. And I see you as that. And the one thing is that you have to always remember not to stay in your head, because clubs are of intuition and knowledge, and they can sometimes stay in their head. The thing that they are to learn in this life is to come into their heart, right? And a lot of times clubs have a difficult time coming into their heart because they can sometimes intellectualize. They can intellectualize their knowledge and do everything through that filter. And so you're very detail oriented, task management, all that kind of stuff. But on the other side of it, you can have addictive personality or obsessions. And then also you can also be over analytical.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, that's crazy. Well, thank you for that brief reading.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. So also on there, I saw sensual smoke. What is that about?
Well, one day I needed something to do with my hands. I have healing hands, and my hands were hot, itchy, like they were talking to me. And I burn incense all the time. I'm a deep meditation type of person. One part of my spiritual practice is meditation. And I said, wait a minute, but I think I have a course. Like it just started this, I get downloads all the time. So it was like, it started speaking to me about incense. And I was like, I think I have a class or something that I started purchase. I went to my computer and lo and behold, I did.
Wow.
And whenever things pop up for me, I go down that rabbit hole. So I did. And it led me to this course that I had started, and I couldn't even get access to it. I had to contact the school and get access to it. And I sat with it and I was like, yeah, this is what I'm to do. And I took the course, finished it, and started making incense. And I said, wow, this is something. And it,
go ahead.
This is something. And so I sat with it, and Spirit directed me that I needed to teach other people how to create incense, because the topics I talk about are not easy topics. And it really requires you to look at yourself. So I see in the thread in my business is that everything that I do is a very sensual experience, meaning that we are engaging our five senses. The sense of smell is what I do through that. The sense of, the sense of all the other five senses is in another product that I have. So I see where I ignite all five senses and ultimately tapping into your sixth sense, which is intuition. And so I create these experiences for people to really kind of ignite, re-engage with their senses because society has become so desensitized. So these are ways for them to really come home to themselves and have these deeper conversations, because really my business is really about conversation.
Yeah, and I agree with the desensitizing ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and, all that crazy stuff going on in the world. So, Therese, okay, I don't know, oh man. Okay, so you didn't learn this from your mom or your
Mm-mm.
parents. How did you start with all this stuff? What
Oh,
what
you're
got
gonna
you into
ask
Oh God, it's gonna
what
be
is
like,
gonna
whoa.
start this one? It actually did come from my mother.
It
So,
did. Wait, was she
mhm.
metaphysical too? Was she
So
into
I'll tell you,
metaphysics? Okay.
yes, very much so. As a little girl, I was raised by a mother who had cancer on and off my entire life. My
Mm-hmm.
mom, I grew up very young. You can see that in my chart because I'm a Capricorn rising and a Capricorn South node, which means typically that kind of placement speaks to a child that grew up very fast,
Okay.
had a lot of responsibility early in life. We can see that in that chart with those placements, which I did. I have been a caregiver since I was 7 years old. And I'm not just talking about going to grab a bottle of water. I'm talking about I grew up with the constant reminder that my mother could be gone any day.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my childhood. But my mother made my childhood fun and so many different ways. But one of the things that when I was 7 years old, like 7.5, she had just had my brother, and my brother was so big that he threw her back out, and my mom had to have surgery. She was on her back for 6 months. So my brother did not get to be with my mom like a baby would normally be with his mom after birth. So at
Mm-hmm.
6 weeks old, he went to live with his godmother.
Okay.
And my family was the people, that took care of us. But my mom was introduced to unity during that time. And unity is a blending of Christianity and metaphysics. And from there, that's where my journey started with metaphysics. And it was so interesting. I have a bachelor's, master's program working on my PhD in metaphysical psychology, I guess you could call it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was working on my bachelor's, I found that the correlation to my life. I did not realize that unity was where was the door that opened to me to metaphysics through my mother, because that's what she would read. Then she got me Unity for Kids, and that began the metaphysical journey. We used to talk about it. We talked about visualization. My mom used to write her own prayers because she said couldn't count on other people in their relationship with spirit. So she wrote her own prayers when she had surgeries. And I've been through tons and tons of surgeries through my mother and then my husband. And then I became the caregiver of the entire family. I became a matriarch of my family at 19 when my grandmother, paternal grandmother, passed away. So this has been the journey of my life. My grandmother said I had abilities, didn't know what that meant until later in life. And so when I became an astrologer, I found out all the reasons why. I have some very, 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 very sacred, I'll call them, placements in my chart that leads me to this deep, profound spiritual walk. If anyone that's listening knows about yods, I have 2 yods, and those yods are the fingers of God. They're a pointing to a spiritual mission that you have in life. I have 2 of them. So to give us some context, the royal family in the UK, most of them have yods. Harry has two yods. His wife also has a yod. His brother has a yod, and a yod is the finger of God. It is a spiritual mission that is placed on your life, and it's a kind of difficult one to deal with because they're kind of opposite, opposing, and there are these energies that you have to balance out in order for you to kind of live your life. And I didn't find out about this until in the last 4 years. And then I had to understand what that meant for my walk in life. And SolLuna Sanctuary is the blending of that walk in life. So my walk is very spiritual. I didn't know it, but it's also spiritual in the sense of one thing is connected to the other thing. And my spiritual walk is connected to my money and my possessions and my resources. So while I've always wanted to do business, and that's where I went, Spirit would always let me go do the business and let that business thrive. And then it would crash, and then it would crash and burn it and say, go back over here to spirituality. And the question always became, how do I make money with spirituality?
Right.
Like, how do you do that? Right. And that was part of the mission for me to figure that out. That has been my mission for the last 4 years as I uncover who are you, Therese, and why are you here, and what are you to do, and how, then go do that.
Yeah, it was always hard for spiritual folks or people who are into metaphysics and providing spiritual work, whether it's Reiki, intuitive readings, healings, and make a living. But we all need to make a living. So I always was told that it is an energy exchange, having to charge for some services because it is an energy exchange. And after all, you pay for your education. And you also learn and evolve within yourself as you learn these things. And now you're teaching others to do the same thing, to help themselves, and they don't have to take the education, and you will just guide them there.
Well, the thing that I think that is the intersection between spiritual work and money is to reframe what money really is. And a lot of spiritual people have been told that they're to give away their spiritual gifts because it was given through spirit. And I reframe that for them is that my spiritual gifts are my currency.
Yeah.
Which speaks much to what you just said. My spiritual gifts are my currency, because when you get to be a better person and you get to understand your life on a deep, profound level, then you get to make more money too. So I am to charge for my work, and then I can tell someone what type of work they're to do. Yeah. You know, I'm not for everyone, but I am to create sensual experiences for people, because that's where home is for me, right? Home is in the sensual space. And when you can prove to someone and not know them that these are the common threads that you've been feeling throughout your life, you just never knew that that was what you were to do, life gets really easy. And then when we get into that flow, money flows to us much easier. So I think it's in the knowing. Matter of fact, I know it's in the knowing and the certainty that we then attract more of that which we desire. And then when we're in alignment and it aligns with our work, the frequency runs very more fluid, right? So you start getting into situations that, like us, I'm on the podcast. I just put out in the universe that it's time for me to be seen. It's time for me to talk fluently and fluidly about what I've been called to do, because I know. I'm not guessing. I know.
Yeah.
So when you stand in that certainty, and then spirit ancestors are able to unfold for you because they go before you to open doors for you. And I live from that space now. I've been forced to live from that space. I've been forced to surrender. And I say force because, it may sound harsh, but if you don't come willingly, it's going to come anyway. Pluto doesn't ask you whether you want to go. Pluto says, come along. And if you don't come, I will disrupt everything about you. So you'll have to come along. Right. My parents and my husband are gone because why? I'm the only out of that unit. I'm here. Why? Because if they were here, I wouldn't do this work.
That's probably true. So true. You're right.
So they had to be removed so that I could do the work that I was called to do. Because if my husband was here, I wouldn't be doing this work because I would be taking care of him.
Correct.
It forced me to take care of me and only me and really dig into me to get here to help all of us in the collective for a time such as this.
I believe that. I truly believe that. So, anyways, we're going to get to the end, towards the end of our podcast. And every time I have a guest on, I always ask them a weird or funny question. So here it is. Would you rather travel the world for a year on a shoestring budget or stay in one country for a year but live in the life of luxury?
Oh, that's very easy. The latter. Because I'm destined. Yeah, I'm destined for that. I have Taurus in Venus, and I have Venus in Taurus, and that speaks to luxury. And I'm a Libra moon. That speaks to luxury all day, every day. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I seen you on Instagram and you would post stuff. I think, what was that other one called? I don't even know if that other platform's around. And you'd be in your car and you're always looking like you're all decked out, ready to go, girl. You always look good on camera.
Thank you. Thank you. I wake up every day and I have a ritual. So I have a whole ritual for getting dressed. And because I feel like I have to give honor and reverence to life. And so I do that with making sure that I take amazing care. That's how I say thank you to spirit. I say thank you to spirit by taking impeccable care of the temple that's on loan to me, called my body, and my life that's on loan to me. I make sure that I show up every day in the best possible light.
I love that, Therese. So once again, how can people find you online or everywhere else you want to say?
My first and last name everywhere, Therese, just like Teresa with an E at the end, Therese, and then Prentice. I'm everywhere the same. And SolLuna Sanctuary. So it's SolLuna and sanctuary.com. Everything is there. You can reach out to me. My DMs are always open. I don't, have anyone blocking me from people that need and want to hear what I have to offer.
Awesome. Well, this has been a fantastic interview with you, and it's so nice to, get back to you after 3 years, and I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing, Therese. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
I hope that you enjoyed this podcast, and please share this episode with your friends. Please subscribe, rate, and review this episode. Thanks for listening.